Hello fellow LHUGUENY viewers, I'm Logan. Welcome back to the channel. I'm doing a little behind the scenes today about how we made Jurassic World Rebirth the musical. Now I want to preface this with my apologies. I have disappeared for a few months from creating. I was in a little bit of a medical situation, comatose state for 11 days, no joke actually. If you want to know more about that, then check out the members only video about the specifics of that. I had to relearn to walk, talk, and write. Still have some numbness in my arm. But enough about that drama. Let's just jump right into this. So I typically like to start with the instrumentals before even writing the song. So here we go. I got GarageBand open, which I was told in college is forbidden. I should be using Pro Tools, but I like to go against the grain, so let's do this. So first we got the drum track. I don't currently have a drum set because I am in a condo and the HOA will come down on my ass, so let's just do this with the keyboard. So, kick drum. Now, hi-hat. And let's throw in a snare. Yeah. Something along those lines. And I'm gonna throw that in there, and then I'm gonna throw in some other instruments. So today is a good day because our faithful Northern Cardinal neighbor who lives next door, his name is Red. He requires one MacNut offering for a successful YouTube video. So let's see if it works out. There you go, Red. You gonna give us some views? Oh, thank you. Tally ho, young sir. All right, little secret. I got the xylophone going on, the one that the Apatosaurus is playing, but it's not really a xylophone. It's actually bright, punchy synth. So let's screw around with that. It. Throw that in there, and then we're gonna add some major hardcore party synth afterwards. I don't really do it all live first try, but I'll do my best just to show you the idea. But here we got the anthemic lead, which is one hell of a synthesizer. For the chorus section. Should sound familiar if you've heard the song to which this is behind the scenes for. All right, so one thing that the keyboard and the digital replications of instruments is not so good at doing and sounding authentic is the electric guitar. Now, for this song, I wanted to throw in a little bit of electric guitar just to give it a little oomph for the second and third chorus so it builds up above just the more simple first chorus. So something along the lines of yeah, I think that could work. Smells like metal. And after that, I'm going to throw it all together. As you'll see here, there are about 1 million different parts. So it takes a lot to, get this stuff, sounding spick und span the way it does, even though, let's face it, it's a little bit jerry-rigged. As you can see, I don't have a big old fancy studio, but maybe one of these days. And next, we're going to start writing. All right, lyrics. This is quite important. Sometimes it can take some time, but I'm feeling it. So, dinosaurs. They start the movie, dinosaurs are dying on the street. I think Zora will sing this part. Dying on the street. Now, what should the next line be that rhymes with street? Come on, goddammit. Shut! Can't write for shit. Pharma execs, what the hell rhymes with street? Damn it, the whole day's gonna be gone. Come on. God! Alright, so now I will show you the unadulterated, bastardized, disgusting raw version of the vocals before I put some magic over it. Here we go. Giant Mosa with 4 spinos, who's the king of all the dinos? Swimming T-Rex, flipping the boat, river raft with the Delgados. Alright, and now let's give you a little taste of what that's like without. Well, actually, with some effects over it. Here we go. Computer takes a little bit. Come on, wake up, you bastard! Giant Mosa with 4 spinos, who's the king of all the dinos? Swimming T-Rex, flipping the boat, river raft with the Delgados. Not bad, huh? Secret is there are actually 2 versions, so I'm doing the Swimming T-Rex, and then I do a higher harmonized version, Swimming T-Rex, and then those together are what make that sort of effect. Mixed with some auto-tune, mixed with some reverb, mixed with this, and mixed with that. So that's my part, and now I'm going to show you my wonderful co-producer / loving and patient wife, who should have left me a long time ago, Whitney DeStefano. Kick some ass on here.
Dinosaurs are dying in the street. Pharma exec wants to hire me. I know he's got deep pockets, leave faster than a rocket. Our mission's underway and nobody can stop it.
So, just at the beginning of the 3rd chorus after James Beaver's part, there is a section that sounds like it is underwater. Normally, you could change the frequency and take the high and medium frequency and turn them down and turn up the low frequency, but so we just said, hey, screw it. Let's go out there and do it under the water. Alright, so now we are in the computer, and I'm going to show you the animation process itself, summarized, of course, because otherwise we'll be here for a 20-hour-long video, maybe even a 100-hour-long video. But so here is, I am in Adobe Animate, formerly known as Adobe Flash, and here is my Zora character design. So there's the main character, which you can see. I can just move around like this. And then when you double click on her, then there's the sublayer, which is all of her separated body parts. I'll show you here. I've did all the body parts separately. So the left arm, the head, the neck, the body, legs, ponytail, right arm, shads, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So that way, if I need to do something, I don't necessarily have to redraw the entire body. I can just do it within itself, or if I can either just move it around like this, or for like a lot of scenes, what I do is I'll actually double click within the sublayer of said body part, say the left arm, and then I can draw something else. Say, for example, her holding her tranquilizer, or sorry, not the tranquilizer gun, the gun that shoots the little darts that collect the blood sample from the dinosaur. Or then I can make another layer and have her, say, for example, holding a smartphone, watching this YouTube video. This is just going to be a quick one, so it's going to not be perfect. Like that. You get rid of the little overlapping lines, yada yada. And then add some skin color to it. Add the color of the phone. And then I have another option. Instead of having to redraw the entire layer, and then I can go out on the main layer and say, okay, on this frame, have her arm change from being in the down position like this to holding the smartphone. So there that is. So there's those sublayers. There's one more complicated sublayer, which is the head layer for most characters, because within that, then I can have a bunch of animation within the head, and then have that continue while then moving the head on this outer layer, because if you see, I'll double click on the head layer, and then within the head layer, there are several different parts. There are the eyelids, and that's the sublayer in itself where I have, all the typical eyelid positions, so I don't have to redraw them every time a character blinks. I have the mouth, within which I have 22 different mouth movements to lip sync with, 11 of which are sort of a, downward, more concerned looking mouth, and the other one more happy. Eyebrows. Some characters have this like blush overlayer because the over the skin there, and then I'll have like the eye pupils, and then the whites of the eyes under that, so that then I can move the pupils and have them not, be partially covered by the face if they're looking so far in a certain direction, if that makes sense. Anywho, so we got that. So there's an example of a human character. Here's an example of a dinosaur character, where I don't know if Mosasaurus technically counts as a dinosaur. It's an aquatic creature. Same principle here. I have the all the fins separated, the head separated, body, tail. Just gonna wiggle it around, and then the head sublayer, or symbol is what they also call it, and within which I have pretty done mouthpieces, the lids for blinking, and all that jazz. Then I have my background layer here. So for this scene I'm going to show you guys the scene where they're out on the ocean, on the boat, chasing the Mosasaurus. And so I have this the background layer I made where I have 4 different layers of water, so that way I can, instead of having to animate water, it's just a bit easier it's kind of a hack to just make these water layers bob up and down. And then behind that I have like the back main ocean, which is just flatter, more simple. It's just meant to be like the ocean in the distance. Some clouds, they can float around, and the sky. So here we go. We go within the layer, and so there are multiple layers. There's the main layer here, and this rectangle is going to be the frame, the screen frame of what you're going to see on the actual screen. So it's almost, think of it as like the camera itself. But before we go to that, we're going to go to the layers underneath. So this is the main background layer where you have the water. I always have an audio layer here as well, so then I can sync everything. So you have 3 layers of water before the ship, and they're all moving at different speeds. So the one that's closest to the foreground here is moving the fastest, because obviously what you see in the foreground is going to be moving faster than what's moving in the background. And then I have the ship behind it, and then to the left of the ship there's the Mosa hiding down there. There he is. And then there's one more water layer behind the ship, the background ocean, and the clouds and the rest. So I have all the characters, the human characters, animated on the ship layer, because then that way when the ship is bouncing around, I don't have to then manually move them. They're just within the layer, so as the ship bounces, they just bounce with it. So then when I move the ship, yeah, that's all taken care of. I just have to move one layer instead of moving all of these characters perfectly the same motion as the ship. So I'm within the ship layer here. Yeah, I'll go within, just to give you an idea of what Zora is doing. We'll have to zoom in real close. So every one of these frames, every one of these little spots here, as you can see, I'm moving around. Like here's one, frame 8, frame 9, frame 10. It's 20. This project I animate at 24 frames per second. So this right here, from here to here, that is 1 second of time, and then I can manipulate frames at 1/24 of a second. So within the head layer here, I have each one of these dots is when a mouth moves, a mouth position moves. That's typically the first thing I tackle. So here she's singing, and then you have the eyelids. See here she's squinting her eyes, so I change the eyelids over a period of 2 frames. The pupils, I'm actually not manually animating that. I'm just telling. So what these purple markers show is called a tween, which is where you can say from this frame to this frame, I want the eyes to move from here to here. And then the computer will then fill in these in-between frames as to where the eyes go. So it saves a little time. And then I'm using a feature called, as you see over here, classic. It's ease out, so you can choose ease in or ease out, or just have the motion be just continuous without any easing. But easing looks more natural because if she's quickly making her eyes move, the very first frame of motion, it moves more quickly, and then it gets slower and slower, which is sort of just more natural with movement. For human eye movement, for human movement, most movements. I mean, things never just go from start to stop unless, hardly ever does if you look at physics. But that's that's a personal choice. So then I'll zoom out from here, and I'll go one layer out to her body layer. So now see her head is already just all animated. And then if I want to then move her head around, I can just say, hey, from this frame to this frame, I want her head to move. And I can put in that classic tween. And I can say I want the head to end on this layer. And then boom, the computer then fills it in. And since I already have all the animation done within the sublayer, I don't have to worry about any of those things. It's already done. It's still, her head's still moving. All the actions within her face and her head are moving as I had pre-animated them in here. And but as you'll see there, now her neck also needs to be moved. So I'll do that as well as her ponytail. But this is just an example, so I'm gonna do out of this because in this frame I actually didn't have that, but I just wanted to show that. And then we'll go out to the go further out here to the main shot. And I did the same thing with Henry. He's got his own actions, but he doesn't really do nearly as much as she does in this shot. And then then I have the boat bouncing to the beat. So I just tried to synchronize the bottom of when it bounces is here. And then I just have it do it repetitively over and over perfectly to the beat. And that's just listening to the audio and just trying to just get it to be perfectly matching. Whoops. And then, so then I have the Mosasaurus is going to, so I have the camera frame here, and then I have the boat moving backwards then to clear room for the Mosasaurus, who then jumps out and starts singing. And the most is basically the same principle as with Zora. I have within his head layer, I have all of his singing synchronized with the audio, with the pre-made mouthpieces. And then I go out, make his head move. And then with the layer above that, out here, I have the Mosasaurus jumping using that same motion tween principle. The camera isn't perfectly synchronized, so then I'll go out to even the further out layer here. And then I have the camera move a little bit more. I have some other, as you can see, the layer of all the animation in its entirety. Then I can move it slightly to then just be perfectly where I want it within this camera frame. So that way the Mosasaurus is fully in the frame when I want him to be. Zora and Martin and Henry are also doing their parts. Oh, and don't forget about Nina up there. She's only in this shot for like a second. So then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to render out these pieces into separate files because I'm going to bring them into After Effects afterwards to add a few more effects over this. So some of the first few ocean layers I'm going to render separately so I can have them in one layer, and then I can add some effects to them, particularly like a lens blur, because since they're in the foreground and they're moving so quickly, you would want them to have like a blur over it, and I'll show you that in the After Effects section next. And then I'll do the boat and the Mosasaurus in one layer, and then I will do the background in another layer just to have a minor, not a motion blur, but just a minor blur because they're so far in the background. As you can see, the clouds just look like they have such hard edges. That'll just help give it more of a natural look. So let's export this all out. I'll export it into PNG sequences, and then I will, because those are pretty high quality, and then I will bring those into After Effects. So as you can see, we have the same scene all set up here. So this is part I. This is a big project, so there are about 161 different parts in After Effects here. But here it is. I exported as 3 layers, so we have layer 1, which is the water in the foreground. And as you can see, I've added that motion blur to the water. Then there's layer 2, which is the boat and some of the water in the middle section here, and the Mosa. And then layer 3, which I've also added, not a motion blur, but just a lens blur, just to make the clouds in the background look more just distant in the background and draw your attention and focus more to the action that's happening here in the middle section. So for the first layer, I just used a Gaussian blur, and I made it horizontal only, so it moves in the same direction that the water is moving. And then for the background, I did also a Gaussian blur, but I did both horizontal and vertical, and made the blurriness much less significant, so it's not as abrasive and less motion-related blur and more of just a lens blur itself. Those are just some of the things you can do in After Effects. You can also, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff in this next scene, as you can see with the gaming beaver here. I rendered it in several different layers, so you have the the wall here in the foreground with James Beavers, and then between him and the distorted strikes behind him, I included 2 pre-created atmosphere layers, which are basically just like a smoke machine shot on a green screen, and I put those in here, and it gives it that effect that that they have in the movies, when the D-Rex comes out of the smoke. It just makes it feel more, I don't know if dynamic's the word, but it just makes it feel more, just adds a little realism to the animation. And then the D-Rex, I also did something to it here. I made the D-Rex its own layer, because as you can see, the D-Rex here is fully colored, but throughout the scene it goes from being black and almost semi-transparent. So to make it semi-transparent, I lowered the opacity. So I also put a blur on it as well, so it's blurred. But for I lowered the opacity from 20% or 19%, and I have it come all the way to 100% at this part. This is over a period of about 1 2/3 seconds. And then I also added an effect, as well as the blur, to make it, see it's coming out like it's blurry when it starts here. I also added this effect called tritone, where you can make something just a single color. So I made it just all black, and then I have it transition over this entire period from here, from 36 seconds to 39, or 38.5 seconds, from fully black to then its normal colors. And that's just gives it that effect of, it looks more like the movie, where it just comes out as like a blurry figure that's eventually revealed. So there's some other examples of how After Effects is used. And then I do this, 161 times over, and then render it out, put the file in the render queue here, and then boom, shakalaka, shazam, you have yourself a YouTube video. And then occasionally there will be glitches and errors, and I'll have to go back and fix them. But yeah, that's about it. Then throw it on YouTube, make a thumbnail, and there you have it. That's it. So anyways, I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if there's anything in specific you'd like to know in future behind-the-scenes videos. And in the meantime, please be sure to check out Jurassic World Rebirth, the musical, if you haven't, because otherwise this whole video will probably be very odd and confusing. And obviously watch the film as well. And please subscribe for more content like this, and more so the animated musicals themselves. And I will see you in the next one.